I mean, these scenarios that are painted of complete meltdown and disaster at Fukushima, they're not completely impossible events. And again, it's a very serious situation. It's something that we need to continue to monitor. Complete disaster at the Fukushima site, you have to revisit everything that I've said. But what we know based on the release that has happened and is still occurring from the site suggests that, again, the objective risk to human beings, especially people living here on the North American coast, is relatively small.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. You're very clear on that, and frankly, it's good to hear. But I just wonder, if there is another earthquake, if there are, and we're speaking completely hypothetically here, and I'm not claiming to know what the likelihood is, but if there were a complete meltdown, I mean, a worst case scenario, have there been any has there been any modeling done on what sort of radiation levels we would be likely to see in the Pacific, both near Japan and here, if that worst case scenario were to transpire?
The situation may be worse than thought. Studies from last year indicate that radioactive water will contaminate the entire Pacific Ocean in just 6 years. Kim Min-ji reports.
This graphic shows the gradual contamination of the Pacific Ocean due to leaks of radioactive water from the crippled Fukushima nuclear plant in Japan. The simulation, which was run by a German Marine Research Institute, shows the entire Pacific waters being polluted by radioactive water in just 6 years.
Well, I think if you talk about an event of that scale, the only sort of point of comparison that we have is Chernobyl in 1986. If something similar were to happen on the coast of Japan, again, I don't feel I can really comment in any meaningful way about what it would mean for us here.
Sure.
Except that it would be a very serious situation to find ourselves in, and I think that the world should be paying attention to what's going on at Fukushima, and it shouldn't be something that people simply dismiss as harmless. But when we consider how much radioactivity actually exists in seawater, most of that radioactivity still is there because of the presence of elements that are naturally occurring that have been with us for a long period of time. Elements like potassium that probably most people have heard of, and rubidium is another which perhaps they've not. But
homeostasis is a basic idea in biology, and what it is an organism's ability to keep a constant internal balance no matter what's going on in the environment.
The levels of radioactivity that are actually being measured are a factor of 1,000 below the concentrations and the activity of those naturally occurring radioactive elements. And
homeostasis is a basic idea in biology, and what it is an organism's ability to keep a constant internal balance no matter what's going on in the environment.
As they disperse across the Pacific and will travel towards the west coast of North America, they are going to be diluted and they're going to decay naturally. And by the time they reach the west coast, which models suggest will be sometime next year, those concentrations again are going to be a factor of 1,000 below the naturally occurring radioactive elements.
Homeostasis is a basic idea in biology, and what it is an organism's ability to keep a constant internal balance no matter what's going on in the environment.
Measurements that we have at present for high-level marine organisms that people consume, like bluefin tuna, suggest that still the radiation that you're exposed to by consuming tuna is mostly, in fact, a factor of 600 greater for naturally occurring radionuclides than for Fukushima-derived isotopes. But
homeostasis is a basic idea in biology, and what it is an organism's ability to keep a constant internal balance no matter what's going on in the environment.
Well, I'm not aware of any meltdowns right next to oceans. A lot of the Line P program, which is a time series program that monitors the physics, chemistry, and biology of the North Pacific, that's headed up by Marie Robert. They're making measurements of these Fukushima-sourced radionuclides offshore, and they're starting to detect the presence of the plume of radioactivity, again, these elements, the concentrations are really quite low compared to natural radionuclides. But
homeostasis is a basic idea in biology, and what it is an organism's ability to keep a constant internal balance no matter what's going on in the environment.
It is making its way towards our coast, but I do think it would be prudent to monitor both precipitation and what's going on in the oceans, especially over the next couple of years.
Jay Cullen, it's good to hear from you. Good to get some perspective from you this morning. Thanks very much for joining us right now.
Thanks for speaking with me.
By Jay Cullen, a professor in the Department of Earth and Ocean Sciences at the University of Victoria.
Homeostasis is a basic idea in biology.